to Be Elite Pod. I'm Shawn Michael.
And I'm Party Johnnetty. And together, we are the PodRockers.
The PodRockers are recording BEP live from our home Elite studios to bring you, the PodRocker Nation, the very best in AEW wrestling commentary. This week, we are breaking down Fyter Fest, which took place Saturday, June 29th, 2019, from Daytona Beach Ocean Center and Daytona Beach, Florida. So this was the second ever pay-per-view. It was a free preview. In Daytona, was part of the CEO gaming competition, and we're going to jump right into our segment of Let's Take Up Gorilla Position. So what we're going to do here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take up Gorilla Position and give our general review and our BEP ratings by number of Barber Shop Windows for the matches from Fyter Fest. So the very first competition, the very first match at Fyter Fest was the part of the buy-in. And it was a tag team triple threat with the best friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta. They went up against SoCal Uncensored and Private Party. So it was kind of a cool little tidbit for this too, because the winner of this match got a bye in the tag team tournament and were guaranteed a spot at the All Out pay-per-view. So John, this was the first match of this pay-per-view. What were your thoughts and your rating on this match, this triple threat tag team match?
Great opener of a match to have. First and foremost, I totally messed up and thought that the show started at 8, even the pre-show, and I missed out on the first half hour of it, so I had to go back and watch it after the show was done. But what a great match to start out. I loved, number one, the opening segments. Even before that had me laughing a lot. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more in our hype moments. The people I feel who had no clue who Private Party were finally got a great introduction to who they were, and I feel everyone there became instant fans as well. Lots of action. It was fast-paced, never felt like a dull moment. Really enjoyed this one. Loved all the guys in the ring, and in this situation, I felt this showcased best friends a lot better than their previous on the pay-per-view match. And all in all, I gave it 4 barbershop windows. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. I know I saw the tidbit with Private Party. I think it was in a Road to Fyter Fest where they kind of talked about them and kind of where they came from. But seeing them come in, I love their intro too, because it was, a location you need an invitation to get to. Yes. I feel like we don't get a lot of that anymore, where it's just these very traditional wrestling introductions. And I love that each of these guys kind of get their own little twist on it. When I heard it was a triple threat tag team match, I'm sure I've seen one before in my lifetime, but I've never really remembered how one really worked. So I was expecting 3 of the teams to be in there at one time. Uh-huh. So I really like that it was just, and I don't know if that's traditionally how it's done or not, but I like that it was just 2 guys in at once. So there's a lot of strategery in there where, if you tag the other team, you've brought yourself out of this match. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. So it was really different than what I expected.
Yeah, no, definitely. Those are that's the usual when you have 3 tag teams like that. And that's the fun thing. I love seeing when a guy gets thrown against the ropes and then you get that kind of weird blind tag from behind from someone else, and you're not supposed to expect that, and it just changes up the momentum of the match.
But I agree totally what you said with Private Party. Like, I feel they put themselves on the mat with this match because, they had that silly string move where you see one of the guys go over the other and gets flipped back in and does kind of a swirling DDT. Love that move. Very good high flyers. I'm actually kind of curious if this should have actually been the opener to the pay-per-view instead of the buy-in.
Yeah, right.
Seeing it for the buy-in got me hyped, got me into the buy-in and ready to go. But I feel like this, if you reversed this match with the actual opener of the pay-per-view, you might have got a little bit more excitement in the actual pay-per-view. But I was in the same boat. I gave this 4 barbershop windows. So our next match in the buy-in, I was really excited about this match because I really like this character, but it was Allie against Leva Bates, who is the librarian. And she came to the ring with the librarian, Peter Avalon. Now, I know a lot of people probably hate this gimmicky stuff, but when it's done like this, it just makes me giggle. Santino Marrera, I think his name was, from back in the day. I always loved that kind of character, the people who you obviously are not supposed to take serious. So I really love this librarian gimmick. The shh.
Yes.
The crowd got into it. I don't know if you heard, but when Peter Avalon was on the outside, somebody from the crowd yelled, "That's not even a book!" And then you get the great chant of "Hooked on Phonics."
Yes.
The other great thing I think you're going to see with Leva Bates is she gets to do the shh, and then she does a slap to the chest. Yeah. Like, I thought that was a great use of that, because the shushing can get annoying pretty quick. So I think it's got to be used sparingly. So in situations like that, I think it would work.
Yes.
And I don't know. I know they held a competition for choosing the librarian. So I don't know if Bates was somebody who won the competition, was invited to AEW, or she was already in AEW and kind of just got the gimmick. I'm not sure if that was kayfabe or not. Mm-hmm. But I really thought that seeing this match with her, she had some pretty good skills. I actually think she did better than Allie did in terms of kind of the in-ring work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll talk a little bit more about that too. I agree.
So, and I ended up giving this one a 3.75 Barber Shop Windows.
Nice, man. Nice. I was cracking up at Avalon popping out of that tent. The whole shh back and forth with the two of them. I agree with you, Shawn Michael. The shh can totally be overdone. I automatically think of like the whistle in ECW. I know some people loved that. Some people absolutely hated it. I was in the latter party, could not stand it when they just keep blowing the whistle. So I could imagine if the shh kept going, it would drive me insane. It was good back and forth between the two. I'll be honest, I was expecting a little bit more with both of these women because they were so very talented in their own right. Leva Bates, she was Blue Pants in NXT for those that might not know. Blue Pants had a great, fun little gimmick. That's all they called her because she came out in blue pants. Outside of this, she would do kind of like cosplay characters and whatnot too. Or pay homage to some stuff that she really liked. Like, I believe in one show she came out in like an X-Men outfit, and
nice.
I mean, that's pretty cool. So to see her actually get this gimmick and her work with it, you couldn't give it to a better person. Allie also has a great history of wrestling. You can't take anything away from her. She was in Shimmer, she was in Shine, she was in CZW, and also Impact. And her Impact storyline, for those that might be listening who might know who she is, might not, it kind of made news when her character died because Impact was going into more like Lucha Underground storylines, and it totally worked. It was awesome. Allie and Impact, they split ways, and it was amicable. And then she went off into AEW. It wasn't a bad match. I was kind of expecting that screw finish to happen. I gave it 3 barbershop windows.
Nice. Yeah, it wasn't, like I said, I think you come off of that. And maybe I should have rated it a little bit lower. But again, sometimes that like humor stuff kind of, especially for a buy-in, it's not a serious match. It just kind of gets you pumped up. That's probably why I bumped it up a little bit higher. But how did her character die on Impact?
Oh, man. She got killed. Like, there was this whole crazy angle in which she was, I don't know if she was possessed or she was conjuring up the spirits of one of the other, of Rosemary. And it was, oh, dude, it was crazy. Like, check out YouTube. I'm sure there's some bits on YouTube of it, just to give you a very quick summary of what happened. I'm trying to remember who the person was that ended up, I think, killing her or found her dead. It was, she did a young Sue. Or Sue Young, I'm sorry, Sue Young. And Allie she was shown dying in Rosemary's arms. And when that happened, like, people were like, dude, did Allie just die? And they just kind of left it at that. And so it was one of those moments that everyone was like, what? And so that's why it kind of made the rounds. Check it out. There's YouTube. Impact was really good at putting stuff up on YouTube for people to watch.
So our next match in the final of the buy-in was Michael Nakazawa against CEO Alex Jabali. So, John, what did you think of this final match of the buy-in?
Oh, man. See, this is what I kind of expected on the buy-in. It was a fun match. I wasn't expecting much out of this. I think in those situations, it does a lot better than what I was expecting. Not taking anything away from Alex Jabali. People know him probably because he's the man behind CEO. He actually trained to wrestle last year, and he was supposed to they were supposed to do this whole thing, and they did something, and it just, Alex Shibeli wasn't able to showcase everything because he tore one of his, I don't know if it was his ACL, MCL, he tore something in his knee. And this match was kind of to make up for it. I enjoyed that trickery in the beginning when Jabali, like Nakazawa is just like talking about it, and Jabali is duped into telling him what knee it was, and so he just starts taking that knee out. I loved the button spot, the push buttons, all instead of thumbtacks, and it was all Jabali's face on them. Nakazawa always with his baby oil, that gets me laughing. The drowning in the pool, that was funny. Just the back and forth between the two was funny. I do enjoy comedy matches. This one, like I said, I didn't expect much out of it, and it surprised me. I gave it 2.75 Barbershop Windows.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun match. I thought Nakazawa kind of made Alex Jabali look pretty good in the ring.
Yeah.
And like you said, he trained, but I've always heard that there's wrestlers who can make other wrestlers look really, really good. And I feel like that's kind of what happened here.
Yeah.
I did love the baby oil spot too, like them all slipping on it. And then the stomach stomp with the slip to the back body drop move, like that had me giggling.
Yes.
The pool spot. I mean, I always sometimes I know some people probably get annoyed with it, but like beating each other with pool toys, like floaty things, like that it's hilarious, and like the just how it is, it's like it's not supposed to hurt, but you overreact to it hurting. And then things like hanging them with the controller cord.
Oh, dude, yeah, I enjoyed that.
Love the push button thing too. I mean, especially for what we saw later in the evening. But I gave this 3 Barbershop Windows. All right, so now we get the opening of Fyter Fest, and we get SEMA against Christopher Daniels. So at Double or Nothing, we had these guys in the opening. It was SCU versus SEMA's group fighting in a tag team match. It was a 6-man tag match, and that was a very quick-paced match, was very good. I'm kind of curious if you're seeing SEMA and Christopher Daniels not be able to hold their own, I guess, one-on-one. Like, I thought it was a good regular wrestling match, but it definitely felt a lot slower paced. And I felt like there was, this would have been a better opening, I think, for the buy-in more so than for the actual pay-per-view, because it just, again, it felt a little slower. It was a good match. It was like I said, it wasn't terrible. Like, I didn't hate it, but I felt coming away just thinking like, okay, I just watched, this wrestling match. Like, there was nothing real exciting about it. And so unfortunately I rated this one a little bit lower, and I rated it a 2.75 Barbershop Windows.
Oh, that's totally understandable. And I actually agree with you, Shawn, that this probably would have been better suited if you switched this spot with the tag team with triple threats. But I know they probably didn't want to do that to have too many tag team matches on the main card. But I enjoyed this match. I was expecting just a tad bit more. I hope that's not like my gimmick here. John was expecting a little bit more.
Just a little bit more.
But I did enjoy like JR dropping knowledge on grabbing of the ropes and being like, hey, when the ref sees that means let go. I had no clue, but it makes perfect sense that Christopher Daniels has had over 1,000 matches under his belts. That's just absolutely crazy. Talented guy. I've always loved Christopher Daniels. Love that beautiful transition from the moonsault off the ropes to the crossface as well. Shima and Christopher Daniels did a great job working with one another. Great combos by Shima. I think he called it the Iconoclasm. I had to look that up. That Blue Thunder Bomb and then the Angel's Wings as well from Daniels. I also liked the wrestling history talk that was going on during this match. And they were talking about the Enziguri kick and Antonio Inoki and the origins of that. Love when that stuff goes on. Sometimes that's the downside, because when they start talking about other stuff during the match, sometimes that means, the match isn't as exciting as you think it would be. Shima won with that Meteora. And I wanted to say, I don't know, it felt like they mentioned that the winner got a match with Kenny Omega at, I think, like Fight for the Fallen, because Omega's facing Moxley at All Out, right?
I think so, yeah. That's what they're building up towards. So is it Fight for the Fallen? You think SEMA and Omega are going to fight there? Is that what you're getting?
Yeah, that's I thought, and I could be totally wrong, and I might have misheard something, but like I put it in my notes and I didn't double check it. Overall, I gave this match a 3.25.
So we get into our next match, and this one was a little bit different, but we get Riho, Yuka Sakazaki, and Nyla Rose in a triple threat match. So Party Johnnetty, what do you think about this match?
Oh, man. First and foremost, I have to say a lot of people on Twitter shat on this match. I mean, I loved this match. I will come out and say it, and I must have watched a different match than everyone else. I saw, there was some goof spots there, but that's okay. That happens. But I really thought everything else came out on top that overshadowed some of the mess ups, the botches. I honestly had no clue that Nyla Rose was a trans woman, and it made me realize that it doesn't matter in this situation. I think she did a terrific job. I know some of the fans on Twitter totally disagree with me. I loved the double camel clutch spots. I loved those top rope knee spots, the Miss Senton, and then Nyla Rose doing the double catch.
Love the double catch.
Yeah. This was the match where I loved Justin Roberts coming on and telling the time limit for the match. In the beginning, he says, "Hey, this is a 20-minute time limit." And then he says, 10 minutes remaining in this match. I loved it. That kicked it back old school, and it warmed me up big time. Loved, I think it was Riho did the double knees, breaking up both pins. Loved that. The Death Valley driver and that kick out. I am a big fan of the only thing I have left in my body is to just turn my shoulder type of kick out. Like I've gotten the crap kicked out of me so much. I've put in so much in this match myself, and it's just out of natural instinct to raise your shoulder up like that. And that really, I love that. It was a great win by Riho, and for me, this was a 4-star match.
So I don't think I was Party Johnnetty. I don't think I was as hateful as the people on Twitter. This definitely wasn't my favorite match, and I'm gonna say I think the reason this match didn't sit well with me is because I don't know if you know this. I should have invited you when I went down, but last minute I got that special black card that you can get like all these cool giveaways and VIP items. And last minute I get an email that says, "Hey, Shawn, you can come to Fyter Fest. You get front row seats." Yeah, I know. Private jet. It wasn't really a private jet. It was more of like a train, but it got me there in time. It promised me like gourmet salmon and all this great stuff and like Evian water. And, it was really a cup of water and like a cheese sandwich. And, I was hungry, so I ate it. And unfortunately, dude, my stomach was like all kinds of messed up.
So for a second there, I was getting mad, and I was going to say you're big leaguing me here. I see how it is. Party Johnnetty gets the back treatment here. Shawn Michael gets everything once again.
Yeah, I mean Shawn Michael. Yeah, that's the name. That's the name up there on the windows and everything. Like, yeah, but I think my hubris got the best of me because that cheese sandwich did not sit well. That Fyter Fest sandwich was just and all these stomach jumps that was in this match. Like, I felt each and every single one of them, and there was a lot of them. Yeah,
there was a lot of them.
But I love that we got to see the double slide up when Rose had both Rio and Yuka pinned. Yuka off the top rope. She's got some great top rope management. Like, it's not like turnbuckle stuff. It's like on the actual rope. So I thought that was good. Man.
Yeah.
I thought even in the last match with Nyla Rose, I feel like she pulls a lot of her stuff a little early. So it kind of takes me out of it. But the double catch, the double pin, I love that. Like you mentioned the double camel clutch. Thought that was great. But I do think I like something we see every now and then. I'm hoping we see it more in AEW because it's going to give you that more like actual competition feel. Is the quick pins? Whenever I feel like anymore, if you see it, it's you see somebody roll somebody up and it should be a quick tied pin. They always kick out of it. So I really like seeing that Riho got one of those on Nyla Rose. Just really like that.
Yeah.
What had me laughing so hard through my sore stomach was after Yuka and Rio, like she comes in, saves Rio, and Rio pushes Yuka away, and JR says, "That's a sad wrestling face." I busted up a lot louder than I should have because it came out of nowhere and just made me giggle. But yeah, I gave this one 3 barbershop windows.
Nice. Yeah, that's respectable to me, right? Like I think that's the great thing just in general with AEW is it seems like there's matches for everyone here. And even if you get invited to Fyter Fest and I don't, we still work well together. So I don't get upset at you rating matches at a different scale than me with your barbershop windows. It's totally respectable.
I feel like there's going to be something in the dirt sheets. It's like, are the PodRockers falling apart already?
I certainly hope not.
Our next match was our Fatal 4-Way match. This was actually my 5-star match, and it was Adam Page versus Jimmy Havoc versus Jungle Boy versus MJF. So if we want to hold off and talk about that at our 5-star match, even though I rated it a little bit lower, it was my favorite match of the night. I gave it a 3.75 barbershop windows.
Nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. It was great back and forth. I was surprised in the beginning that JR mentioned Paul Heyman, especially with all the news coming out recently about Paul Heyman being put into an executive position over on WWE. But it's kind of nice that they just say, they're not worried about this sort of stuff. So this match, MJF, once again, shining star, man, pushes that fan in the face, the heat, telling all the fans, your mom swallows. I loved video games. And then I lost my virginity. And there was already a GIF made on Twitter. I actually tweeted out, I was like, what's been your favorite moment of this match so far? And someone actually tweeted that to me. And I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I love that they say that. And then it cuts to like this fan like, what? I mean, I can't help it. I haven't lost mine yet. I haven't met the right person. Yeah. No, that was really funny. I love some of the fan reaction shots that they had. There was one where a guy was just getting angry and they pulled at him, and then the guy flipped the bird and you hear him mouth fuck, and then they were like, move, someone else. And there was some great moves by Jungle Boy. This match really showcased Jungle Boy a lot. Yeah, I agree.
Really enjoyed that. That hanging cannonball moonsault. Holy crap. Wow. Loved that. Loved the spot where all the guys were tied up in the ropes, and then they did the, hey, we're going to do this superplex crazy power bomb, and MJF's like, no. It was like a tree falling in the woods and slamming into him. Loved that. I had seen, guys typically do that when it comes into Fatal 4-Ways and whatnot. You see kind of like that crazy spot, but it was nice to see that this was different, that MJF like is knocked loop. He gets up and sees it and is like, no, and then just gets smashed. Havoc getting dumped on his head. Ouch. That heat seeker, I love that move, man. That was sweet. And Paige gets the Deadeye for the win. It was overall a great match. I gave it a 3.75 barbershop windows.
So do you think MJF was the shining star in that, or do you think Paige kind of outshined him in this match?
Oh man, I honestly think in this situation, if I had to choose, that's the tough thing, because I really felt MJF and Jungle Boy were the ones that kind of got the spotlight in this. I felt Jimmy Havoc didn't get much of a spotlight as I thought he would. Yeah. And I really think people just love to hate MJF. And so he came out on top, really, even though Adam Page won.
Well, I think he gets that like legit heat too. And I always worry about characters like that, where they become a parody of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they're coming out, and but with him, it feels legit. Like you said, he has some post pay-per-view interviews where he's still in character, and it's just amazing. And like,
yes.
I just love it.
Oh yeah. I watched that as well, man. It was crazy. That was so fun. Just so fun.
Well, our next match, and this is one of the matches I'm curious if that's why we were hearing like the 10-minute, 5 minutes left is the build up for this, but I hope they keep doing that. But it was the Cody with Brandy Rhodes and Darby Allin match. So Party Johnnetty, how'd you feel about this match?
Oh man, I love Darby Allin coming out with that body bag. That was fun. That was a great little little gimmick that he had going on there. Cody 1-1. I liked that. Great athleticism by Darby.
Yes.
I feel bad because he really didn't get to showcase himself. He did a great job on showing that he can sell well because he got the crap kicked out of him.
Yeah, he did.
Got thrown through the ropes onto the floor. That scared the crap out of me. I enjoyed him working on Cody's hand. I thought that was a great spot. That crazy top rope inverted suplex, that was awesome. I love the time limit draw on it, where I felt both guys were really strong. I screamed pretty much when I saw the crowd surfing dive pretty much onto the ring apron area. That scared the shit out of me, and I was just like, ow, ow, ow.
Yeah, that's one where you're going back to the chiropractor. Either way, when I saw him doing that, there's no way he's going to hit that. Like, he's going to fall off before he gets it, and like, nope, there he goes. There goes Cody. Oh, God. Right on the edge.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that scared the shit out of me. Like, it was like, oh, I feel even the commentators didn't know what to expect with that. I didn't care for Darby's ring gear. I'll be honest with that. It made him look like he was wrestling more at a VFW for an independent promotion than he was for AEW.
Yeah, he had like the Walmart type shorts that he like drew on with like a Sharpie and then like leggings. And
yes.
I mean, when he came out with his hoodie and his gloves and his actual makeup, I thought was really cool.
That was sweet.
Creepy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I liked that.
Same thought. When he ripped that hoodie off, I was just kind of like, oh, like, you guys throw that guy a couple like a per diem to get some better gear?
Yeah, seriously. I thought it was a decent match. I gave it a 3.25. The after Shawn Spears, ow, and we'll talk more about that later.
So I loved Alan's entrance with the body bag. When I first saw it, I thought it said Cody 11, which I had no clue what that meant. But then when he held it up, I saw the dash. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, he could still fix it. He could put 1-0-1. I mean, it still works.
Yeah.
I had the same thing, that missed high spot on the edge of the ring. I mean, it wasn't a missed spot, I guess. Like, that was intended, but that's, you see that, and it's just, I always think about this, like when I was a kid and saw that, like to me it wouldn't register that, like, oh my gosh, that guy's really in danger. Because to me it's like, these guys aren't in danger. But when you get older and you kind of learn a little bit more about how the back, about how the sausage is made to an extent, and you see that, you just kind of cringe. Or even like big power bombs off the top rope, like it's just, a little bit of me just kind of like puckers and like, oh God, please be okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Shawn Michael, I have built rings. I have put together rings, and let me tell you, they are not kidding. There is no joke when they say that that's the hardest part of the ring. The outside of the ring is steel. It's a whole steel structure, and then depending on what type of ring you have, those usually are the ends of boards as well. And the padding just kind of hangs out there a little bit, not nearly as much as obviously the insulated in the middle of the ring. So even though you have the padding covering it, it doesn't do it any justice. So it's that really is a hard, hurtful spot to be in. And
I've seen, I saw that, and so I climbed up on my headboard on my bed and jumped off to do the same thing on the edge of my bed. I couldn't walk all day. My wife actually had to bring me into this room, which I don't like to admit, because we are the PodRockers. We're supposed to be bad to the bone, but I tell you what, that hurt like hell. So I can only imagine how he felt.
Oh man, sometimes you just got to take those bumps though. So I feel you.
I do feel like Darby Allin put up a great fight, but I had the same thought. I felt like this was him getting his butt kicked the whole time. He had the spots with Cody's hand, which I thought was really smart, but I don't know if this was a situation where they're trying to build this guy as like, okay, he's not quite there, but he's got the skill, and leaving him the room to grow. It's kind of, whenever you look back in the day, like you see like these young kids come in and they get like what would almost be seen as like a cheap win. Like they roll the guy up real quick, or they, I'm thinking of like the 1-2-3 kid back in the 90s, beating Razor Ramon, and that just skyrocketed his career. Kind of like similar here. So he didn't get the win, but he didn't lose. But he did take one of the top guys in the company to the limit. So I really like that. And again, I hope that they do this time limit stuff all the time, where you hear like 10 minutes till or 5 minutes till.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll be curious when we see like Fight for the Fallen and All Out if we still see that, or if that was kind of due to the environment that they had here. Because I know during Double or Nothing, one of the things I noticed a lot is a lot of the wrestlers looking up at the cameras or at the TV monitors. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's where they were kind of getting their time from or not. And so this was kind of a way for them to get their time in these matches. Not sure, but I do like that realism to it. It's just like, in sports, like hockey, 1 minute remaining, it just gives that not intimacy, but gives that like urgency to it.
Yeah, especially if they are wanting to do this where they say wins and losses matter.
Oh, yeah.
It makes it more believable. So I hope that they keep it. I really do.
I was worried that Darby Allin was going to lose right at the end, but I think this just builds him up to be kind of the smaller guy who has talent. The post-match unprotected chair shot, I think we'll talk about that later. But this one I left with a 3.75 Barber Shop Windows. I probably would have rated it higher, but since Darby Allin kind of took just a big beating here, I felt like that kind of undermined him a little bit. But it's still a good overall match.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the next match for this was The Elite, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson, taking on the Lucha Brothers and the Laredo Kid. So I loved the Street Fighter gear. This is exactly what you should see here. It is a, video game competition, and these guys are playing to that crowd. The double Northern Lights suplex, love that. The spot of this match for me, though, was the Lucha Brothers throwing one of their members over Kenny Omega, over the turnbuckle, onto the mat, onto the floor, I guess, outside the ring. Just like so much height. I mean, that's a 20-foot drop probably. You talked about Darby Allin falling. I mean, he was like, 6 or 8 feet in the ground off the ground, and now you have this throw that's like 20 feet off the ground. Just great athleticism. The Street Fighter spot, where the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid are coming in, and the Elite give the little Street Fighter move to knock him down. I love that.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think this was probably my highest rated match. It was, and I gave it a 4 Barbershop Windows.
Nice. This actually is my 5-star match as well. And I gave it a 4.75.
Oh, nice.
I really enjoyed it. It had everything for me. The only thing, I mean, I'll talk a little bit more about when it gets it. I kind of did wish that the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid would have won, actually. But
same boat, yeah.
Other than that, I'll talk more later for my 5-star match.
All right, and our final match, which actually isn't even a part of Fyter Fest, it was unsanctioned because these two were just, one of these men were going to die in the ring. And it's the unsanctioned Jon Moxley versus the bad boy, Joey Janela. So, Party Johnnetty, we're bad boys in our own rights. I know you're a big Joey Janela fan, so what are your thoughts on this unsanctioned match?
Oh, man, Joey Janela, he cracks me up with everything that he does. He's funny. He's such a character. I absolutely love him. And there's nothing. I don't know. I can't say enough about him. I just love watching him fight. I know he's not like the greatest wrestler, but man, his character is so awesome. I loved that prosthetic leg spots that they were just like, all of a sudden, it took me back to the ECW days when that would happen. And to see Joey Janela is like, what the hell? And then he takes it, grabs it, hits Moxley with it, gives it back in the crowd, and then passes it back to the guy.
Well, I feel like that's what busted Moxley up too, wasn't it? Because I know he had a little cut on his eye.
Yeah, he got a little cut on his eyebrow. Yeah, I think that was. The Russian leg sweep through the table. Holy crap, man, that was fun. Janela flipping the bird at Moxley, that just had me dying. Those barbed wire boards, the barbed wire chair, that tore up Moxley's arm. I can't remember. I think it was his left arm. You see Janela just hit him with it, and his left arm gets tagged by it, and it just rips at his skin. I'm like, oh, God. The foot and the thumbtack spot, oh, God.
Yeah. I mean, it hurts like hell when you step on your kids' Legos. Like, I can only imagine like having like 4 or 5 of those thumbtacks in your feet.
Oh, I know, man. I stepped on a wood, like a carpenter staple once, and that killed, and that was just one. I couldn't imagine having all of those in my feet. Oh my God. I can't believe that was insane. I did like the crowd chanting, you sick fuck, sick fuck. And Moxley, bends over, he does the bow, and that popped him. I loved that. He got that quite a few times with the you sick fuck chant. I loved him spitting out the thumbtack when he covered Janela.
I missed that.
Oh, dude, it was fun. I was just like, what? How perfect was that? I thought that was just great. I was expecting, here we go again. I was expecting just a little bit more, but I still enjoyed it. Joey Janela off the ladder, everything. This was just absolutely insane, and it did a good job. I loved that they said it was unsanctioned, so the win and the loss didn't matter.
I agree there. Yeah, I kind of like that.
So both men still looked strong. I loved Omega got the payback coming in and beating up Moxley at the end. This one for me, 4.25 Barbershop Windows.
Oh, wow.
I know.
So, Party Johnnetty, I'm going to go quite a bit lower than that. And it's lower, but I'm not upset about it. So, I actually thought the way they set this match up, I thought it was going to be a lot rougher than it was in terms of the amount of blood and the amount of violence that they're going to put into this. Because, when they were setting this up, they were showing old footage of Joey Janela and Jon Moxley, back in their backyard days, where they are just covered in blood. I think one spot showed, I don't know if it was a reciprocating saw or something on Moxley. It was something that looked horrendous.
It was a turkey carving saw. Yeah. Yep.
And so I was expecting there to be tons of blood. My kid watched a little bit of the pay-per-view with me, but I definitely want him to go to bed before this because I was figuring a bloodbath. My wife was gonna be Miss Michaels was gonna be you're never letting our son watch this again as he drops the elbow on her. But I mean, like I said, I was expecting more blood, but there's actually more blood from the Cody chair shot than there was in this.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Which I'm okay with that. I'm not a big deathmatch fan. I mean, I saw the spot with I can't remember what his name is. It's the actor from he's the actor
David Arquette.
Wrestler. Yeah, that spot that they did where he got hit with the light, the fluorescent light, and cut him up real bad.
Oh yeah, man.
That's not my cup of tea at all. But Joey Janela off the ladder onto the table, that was there's pictures floating around. I think he tweeted it of a still shot of him with the elbow just coming off the ladder. And that's poster moment for a guy like that. That's an iconic looking image. So
yeah,
I love that. The prosthetic leg, I love that too. But again, I said, unfortunately, I rated this at a 2.5 Barbershop Windows. Not so much for the match itself, I guess, but more for the hype because I was expecting it to be just this bloodbath. I'm glad it wasn't because, again, I'm not really a fan of the death matches. I think that would probably put a lot of bad taste in people's mouth if they did it that way. So I rated it low, but more so because of the hype that it had than the match.
Totally respectable. I would too in that situation with how I knew it was going to be kind of a watered down version of that. I expected it. I wanted just a little bit more, not totally crazy. I go to a couple of death matches. I wasn't really a big fan of death matches until I went to them in person. And I tell you what, it is like a car crash that you just can't stop looking at. The guy that David Arquette fought, Nick Gage, he is really well known on the scene, and I've watched him wrestle quite a few times here in my area, my neck of the woods. And that is one of the scariest dudes I think I've ever seen in my life. And, I mean, that's no work. I'm serious. He's a scary dude.
I feel like to do those. I'm sure that's what he's known for is those kind of matches. And I know that one with David Arquette. I know there was some animosity with it too. So to do that kind of match on a regular basis, there's got to be something not right with you.
I tell you what, man. There's something.
A little a question I have. So a little bit of how the sausage is made. So those barbed wire and stuff, I know like you look at the Mick Foley matches and the Terry Funk matches, they were just straight barbed wire. Mm-hmm. What do they do now? Do they kind of bend it, or what do they do to make it not as dangerous? Do you know?
Man, they don't do anything.
Really?
Yep. I mean, there's certain situations, where you'll see it if it's kind of gimmicked in that way, where the points might get bent a little, where they kind of are not sticking nearly out, or they run kind of parallel with the wire too, so that it's not, it still looks dangerous, but you're not nearly getting hurt. But sometimes in those spots, they don't do much else. I have a friend who carries around a barbed wire baseball bat, and he will gladly let you see it and let you feel it. And that is real barbed wire, and those are the real barbs sticking out of it, and you will cut yourself.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't walk through a sticker bush without crying. So I mean, these are like men among men kind of thing. Good. Oh, mercy.
Yes.
All right, well, let's jump into our 5-star matches. So, Party Johnnetty, what you mentioned your 5-star match was the Bucks, Kenny Omega, and the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. What were some of the thoughts you had with that you wanted to throw in?
Oh man, I know you had already mentioned it, and I'll try to be quick because I feel like ours are pretty similar to one another with some of what we already said. Loved that entrance, the funny fan moment. At first I didn't know what that was all about, and then I loved Kenny Omega coming out and beating him up. I love the Ken Ryu and Akuma costumes, the round 1 fight, and the commentary being like, well, this isn't really, there's no rounds. And I love the back and forth on that. I loved the chemistry with all these guys. Laredo Kid, I think there's another guy too that a lot of people probably had no clue who that was. Got to see some of his work, that bottom and then mid-rope moonsault one after another. This whole match was just fun to me, and I just wanted more and more. 4.75 Barber Shop Windows.
Yeah, and I did, for my 5-star match, I did the Fatal 4-Way. And again, I think it was a lot of MJF. Like this, I felt like really, I mean, I think Double or Nothing with the heavyweight title presentation, you got to see a little bit of it, but his mic presence in this was, I thought, really good. JR comparing him to Paul Heyman, I thought was really good. I know you compared him to Bobby the Brain last week, I believe. Mm-hmm. So very much kind of in that same veil. MJF, when he punched the turnbuckle when he missed, like his exaggeration on that punch was awesome.
Yes.
But again, like MJF just really made this match for me. But yeah, I really enjoyed this match. And I thought it put MJF on the map. Oh, and so the thing that I thought was really kind of cool is, so when he did his opening, we mentioned a little bit, he had the post interview, or post, I guess, pay-per-view interview where they have him in front of the screen. And one of the press guys asked him, says, hey, Jungle Boy just came through here, and he's like, said that, you went like way over on your opening promo and you weren't supposed to do that. And MJF, totally in character. I think he's the only guy that's in character, it seems, in these post pay-per-view interviews.
Yeah, right.
Grabs the mic and he's like, my friend Tony Khan and my best friend, you may have heard him, Cody. And because they're my friends, I can do whatever the fuck I want, and just walks out. I was like,
yep.
That feels like, and again, I know they're trying to do this a little bit, that felt like a post-game like interview, like a presser asks a question that the athlete thinks is stupid, lets them know how they feel, and walks out. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah, man.
I guess at this point, Havoc, Jungle Boy, and MJF are now 0-1, right?
So yeah, that was the thing. MJF mentioned that in his post. He goes, duh, I didn't get pinned, so I'm still technically undefeated. So I don't know if it's going to be based on, and they need to be clear about this, is it going to be based on the guy that lost? Because I had been talking with some friends about that before too. What happens when you're in these triple threat matches and one guy wins and the other guys, both of them take the loss? Or is it just one guy takes the loss? So they need to be a little bit more clear on that. To me, I feel like it's the guy who got pinned takes the loss, and everyone else, it's just a wash.
That makes sense. Or maybe in these like special events, they're just kind of like an extra, like it's like a playoff home runs. Like it's just kind of a separate stat that they have. Like MJF is 0-1 in fatal 4-way matches, but I know they're working through that. I'm hoping we have that before the TV show starts up. I would guess we would, maybe by All Out too. But yeah, I'd really like to know what's clear on that and what's not.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was our Gorilla Position 5-star match as well. So now we're going to jump into our main event, and that is this week's main event question. I feel like we talked a little bit about it, but I'm really curious. How do you feel about hardcore matches? So I mentioned mine a little bit. Back in the day, I used to love hardcore matches, and I think that was again because, I didn't really know about how the sausage was made, kind of thing. So it wasn't like, to me, it was like a video game. Like, these guys really aren't getting hurt; they're safe, yada yada yada. As you grow up and you kind of learn it, it's definitely one of those things that feels, what spots are dangerous. Like you just saying, like the barbed wire is real barbed wire, so you're getting chucked into this barbed wire, board, that's going to tear you up. And if you're not careful on some of these things, it could hit something and cause serious, serious damage. So I've always kind of been more on the fence of like, I don't really need a hardcore match. I look back at, the chair shots to Mick Foley back in the day as being something that, I think that documentary is really what kind of made me realize like, oh shit, like these people actually get hurt.
Yeah.
And so that's always kind of turned me around. Like, I want to be entertained. It's just like movies and things like that. Like, I want to be entertained, but I don't want people to put themselves in situations that's seriously, seriously dangerous.
Yes.
So I've always kind of like, they're okay to see, but they're not my favorite thing, I guess, if that makes sense. So Party Johnnetty, like maybe it's because I'm a sensitive soul. I'm more of the lover of the group. But like, what are your thoughts then on these hardcore matches?
Oh man, I'm not too far off from you, actually, Shawn Michael. I loved them when I was younger. I couldn't get enough of them. Seeing the Japanese death matches, I was basically getting the tapes, trading tapes. We're still kind of old enough to remember that. Now everyone has YouTube and whatnot, but back in the day, you'd actually go to some of these independent shows and you'd try to buy some tapes that someone bootlegged and try to watch all these Japanese death matches, seeing actual Leatherface over in Japan, and you'd see like Freddy Krueger, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And then seeing Bed of Nails, seeing a Piranha Tank, seeing C4 matches, they're absolutely insane. Yeah, sure, a lot of the stuff is gimmicked, and like I said, for the most part, some situations the barbed wire is gimmicked, and others it is absolutely not. And I fell out of it, and I was really like grossed out by it, and I was like, why do people find enjoyment in this? And I would still watch stuff online, but I just did not like it one bit. And then it hit me, and I went to a show by me, and I watched one in person, and I kind of fell back into it. I really was blown away at what these guys are willing to do in the name of entertainment. How these guys get away with making something that looks so gruesome be pretty safe. There are situations, obviously, where things can go wrong, and they do go wrong, believe me. But there's also a way that they do it where it just looks good, where some of it you go, oh man, those guys really busted themselves up, and then you come to find out that it was basically they did the old hand razor blade.
Yeah
And that's all it was. It looked like they crashed through 50 tables or whatever, and they're all bloodied and battered because of that. But it's like, no, it just took the old razor blade and kind of marks myself up there. And some stuff though, definitely. I tell you what, man, you watch some guys go through light tubes. There's no faking that. It's insane. But I as they're not my favorites, but I have a newfound respect for the guys that do them. It went from, like I said, me going, you guys are crazy, I think this is stupid, to seeing it in person and being in awe of it and realizing it's just another form of entertainment. And these guys make it look great. They make it look even scarier than what it really is, even though it is still scary, but they do a good job. It's like a horror film, really. And they do a good job with it.
So do you think actually seeing these guys after the matches, or maybe getting to talk to them a little bit more in depth, has helped you kind of come to grips with that? Or do you think it's just seeing it live, knowing that it's, like you said, it's them being perfect at their craft, that, yeah, doing these things they're doing is dangerous, but they kind of trick the crowds into thinking it's a lot more dangerous than what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little bit of A and B, honestly. You see these matches, and then you get to talk to the guys, and you learn basically in those situations with it, and you go, wow, man, that's part of it. Just with wrestling in general is to trick the crowd, no matter what. And to see them do it in such a high form and something that is completely dangerous is just awe-inspiring. Am I going to get into a ring for a death match anytime soon? No, my wife told me I'm not allowed to do that. So
I'm just curious, like, how do you train for that? Because I mean, obviously, you have to know how to do these things safely. I feel like know how to do these safely, you have to kind of go through it.
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah, it's just, it's trial and error, just like with anything, to be honest. Not only do these guys have to learn this new style, they also have to learn wrestling. And I know originally, like, the term for this type of wrestling, it kind of evolved. And originally there was what was called garbage wrestling, and that was kind of a negative name. And really the wrestlers took that back. When you think of that, you think of Abdullah the Butcher, the original Sheik, Bruiser Brody, and quite a few others, but they did something that eventually evolved pretty much into the deathmatch stuff. And I mean, like I said, not only do you have to train to be a wrestler, now on top of that, you have to train to do all this too. There's a science behind it. I watched Madman Pondo the other last month or so. Take cinder blocks, legitimate cinder blocks, put them on guys, and smash the cinder blocks. But the way that he did it was safe, but it looked gruesome. And I mean, it was cool. It's still, I mean, you put a lot of trust in a dude to put a cement block on your face with a sledgehammer and not actually destroy your face, break your orbital bone. He did. It was art, man. It was crazy, beautiful, and ugly, and it was everything in between. And I went way too long talking about how I feel about hardcore matches.
Well, I think like what you said, it's the trust part of it, because these things you're doing, you have to trust the person's not going to essentially kill you. I don't remember, there was a YouTube video I saw of some guy with you saying the cinder block reminded me, like, chuck it at a guy off the ring. I don't know what the story was behind that or not, but they fucked the dude up, like, seriously.
Yeah, man. That's stupid.
But yeah, so I think you might be bringing me into the hardcore match a little bit more. I mean, obviously I know that they know what they're doing, but I'm always worried about people's safety and like not doing too much to, it's like the old Bam Margera stuff like that. Like, watch me jump off this thing because, and then they break a limb or something like that. But you have to remember these guys are professionals and know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one thing to take away from it. You're totally right. These guys are professionals. And I mean, just like with anything, I've watched in regular matches a guy get hurt, and I've watched in death matches a guy get hurt, but also guys in death matches that look like they're completely dead, and then after the match is done, talking with them, and they're having a beer and they're laughing and joking. And, once they're all cleaned up, you just see it's a little bit of scratches on their forehead or on their arms or on their back, and they're just having a good time with it. Yeah, they're definitely going to be sore the next day. That's for sure. I ain't taking anything away from that. There's still pain, but it's just you admire some of these guys a little bit more.
All right, so let's jump into our next segment. And this is the segment that might get us a little heat, so that's why we call it Cheap Heat. So the PodRockers Cheap Heat segment, this is what we did not like about Fyter Fest. So party, Johnnetty, besides the Fyter Fest sandwiches and you not get to ride that 3.5 hour train ride to Fyter Fest, what did you not like about Fyter Fest?
Well, I mean, yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room right there, man. I'll try not to dwell on it too much, but I got to talk with someone about this. I'm a little bit hurt, but I think overall, just in general with the show, the Fyter Fest bits were hilarious in the beginning, and then they died out.
Yeah, I know, right?
And it was like, what happened, guys? I don't like when that happens with anything, with any sort of media. I've seen stuff like that happen as well, not just in wrestling, but with other things where they bring the gimmick in the beginning and then all of a sudden it's like, you left it alone. What happened? There should have been some kind of ending to it, or you should keep talking and mentioning it. And, we got that about halfway through, and then they're like, okay, we're going to drop it. And I do wish that they kept going with it. Some people might think it might have been overkill, but I mean, that's the joke though. That's the funny thing. And that was a bit bummer to see. I am definitely, speaking in the same vein, here I am talking about praising death matches and whatnot and these guys and how they're artists. I am not fans, no matter what, of chair shots without your hands up. I hate head chair shots, whether you gimmick the chair or not. I don't even know really how you gimmick a chair. I'll be completely honest in those situations. I know that you can buy cheaper chairs that aren't nearly as sturdy as a real metal chair, but it's really hard for you to convince me that that chair was supposed to be gimmicked. I did not like that one bit. I don't know. I know it kind of takes away, like when WWE banned headshots, and you just see a guy and the momentum gets stopped because a guy is about to hit him in the head and then he realizes he can't, and then he has to stop, hit him in the stomach, and then hit him in the back. It's not believable, but I'd rather take that over a guy having CTE any day. And I know they did a good job of like playing it up. I liked that Jim Ross actually brought that up, that he talked about that he said, we're going to have medical staff on board looking at Cody. I was a little bit surprised, I'll be completely honest about this as well, that they didn't have medical staff right there the minute that we saw Cody's head busted open. The no gloves came out. That stuff, to me, that's you got to be on top of that. I don't care who you are or what you do. And WWE's great at it when the referees put on those gloves and they have the medical staff at attention at the ring. They just need to do that. And I don't know. I don't know why they didn't do that, but hopefully they learn from this, and that moving forward that they will have someone on medical staff that's watching all the matches, that can be there, that can put Vaseline in the cut or whatnot if the match has to go on. They just need to do that. You want this to be kind of real? Look what they do in MMA between rounds. All you have to do is just say, whoa, 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 whoa. We're stopping the time. We're stopping the time limits. Medical staff's coming in to check on them. Put the glob of Vaseline in, stop the bleeding as best you can. Get the match going again. If you want to make it real, do that stuff. That's not going to take away from the match. I don't care who you guys are. It happens in MMA, and people still love watching MMA. So chair shots, not a fan of. I'm not a fan of no medical staff at the ring, by the ringside. That took way too long. I don't care what the whole situation was supposed to be about. We all know that it's predetermined. Let's act like, hey, this is a theater show, a live show. And if something happened to someone in theater, someone happened to someone in Cirque du Soleil or whatnot, I'm trying to equate wrestling to some other performance arts where someone gets hurt, they're going to come in and they're going to take care of people, and then the show's going to go on. And they need to do the same thing here. Yeah,
I wonder if the reason you didn't see it happen, like staff get out there so quick, is because they weren't expecting it. They're kind of caught off guard because I think maybe they thought they gimmicked the chair enough. I know the Young Bucks said that they thought it was gimmick because it was Cody's idea. From the videos I saw, it looks like the actual, like the backrest of the chair is what really caught Cody. And that's what really busted him up. Because when I first saw it, I was kind of like, well, I don't really understand how he got busted open because it hit him more in the front of the head. And we're watching, I was like, well, maybe he did it himself, like he bladed himself in the back. But then they said that he had the staples, and then seeing the videos and stuff. But yeah, like what we know now with CTE and head trauma and stuff like that, there's no reason to push the limits on that kind of stuff. I mean, we talk about it with football players a lot, but I guarantee you there's a long line of wrestlers who are in the same boat that did these things because that's what you had to do. And yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like that's not something I'm a huge fan of. Like just get your hands up and go from there. And like I said, even with my kind of like my hardcore match kind of stuff, it's just I want to be entertained, but I don't want to be entertained to the effect of having somebody have these lifelong injuries that hurt them when they're in their 50s.
Yeah, right. I mean, Stone Cold was great. He was one of the best wrestlers of all time, most popular anyway. Every chair shot to the head that you see him take, he puts his hands up. And I mean, it didn't lose any belief, honestly. To me, that's a defensive move. Even though, you can argue that this caught Cody off guard or whatnot, or the character of Cody, Shawn Spears caught him off guard. The moment that I see a chair, though, still, you're going to go defensive as best as you can. And he should have, no matter what, I don't care if the chair is gimmicked in whatever way that they said it was, just put your hands up, man, because that's what anyone would do in those situations. The only time where that doesn't happen is if you get spun around and immediately the chair's in your face. So it's just, you have enough reaction time where you're like, oh crap, my hands, and have your hands catch the brunt of it, whatever. I don't know. Let's work on this.
So some of my cheapy, I had the same thought, like after the buy-in, the Fyter Fest bits kind of died away. And I feel like the same thing, like maybe they should have shortened a match or two and gave, another 5 or 10 minutes to have a couple more of those bits in there. Because I thought they're funny. It was definitely the bit of this, but you saw it, like my other cheap heat was the bikini models at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Definitely kind of one of those like objectifying women thing, but it worked because they're like, oh, we can't afford these models. We can like put, these mannequins up instead.
Yeah.
But once the event started, they took away all the kind of the Fyter Fest, Fire Festival gimmick stuff off the stage too. So they kind of like just went completely away from it. The other thing, I really love it, but it's struggling a little bit, was the handheld cams. I feel like there's a couple spots where there was a big move and the camera switched to it too late or wasn't really focused on the move at the time it happened. There's a couple good moves off the top rope that it missed, but I like the feeling of these handheld cams coming in, but I think there's a little bit of work they still need to do on them.
Yeah, right. There was a funny moment where the poor guy lost his footing. We've seen this before in the past with other, WWE and whatnot, but I still laugh at it. The poor guy trips, falls. The fans are laughing and he gets up again and then he stumbles again. And I'm like, oh man, this poor guy.
I love that Moxley's like supposed to be like, on death's door and sees it and starts laughing.
Yeah, he starts laughing. I know.
But it's legit for his character. Because that'd be a guy who, the character they have built for him is this guy who can take a beating and he sees that he's not worried about his pain. He finds this, this guy's suffering and humiliation funny.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And it just makes him an even crazier mad character. Like I think JR was saying, he's smiling. he's a madman, and I think that's believable. Even if it was like, is he smiling because of he's a madman, or is he smiling and trying not to laugh a lot because the cameraman botched? I don't know, but it was still funny nonetheless.
Well, as much as I love cheap heat, I love marking out. So let's get our mark on and let's talk about the moments from Fyter Fest that made us mark out. So a couple of mine, like I said, I talked about the librarian a little bit. I loved her introduction. And I love that when she was talking to the crowd that the other librarian would like emphasis her words too. So like saying like, you people, like something about words. And he's like, words.
Yeah.
The Fyter Fest bit we talked about. I love the bit, the part of the buy-in. I really wish that they had that going. There's a hashtag going around called Fyter Fraud.
Yes,
which I thought was pretty hilarious.
Yeah,
because it's the classic moment from the documentary where the guy was going to go and suck dick to get water.
Yes, man. Yes.
MJ on the mic before and after we talked about Jungle Boy saying that his promo went a little long. He said he could do whatever the fuck he wants because he's friends with Cody. Mm-hmm. The AEW set, so they have this big like crystal chandelier thing, which I thought was just going to be kind of the Double or Nothing kind of set, because it kind of looks like a very Vegas thing, but they had it here too. So it seems like AEW is going to kind of have that set up for maybe all their pay-per-views, or maybe this will be more just their regular shows. I'm not sure, but I do really enjoy that set, and it looks like it'll be the style of the future. Yeah. And we didn't talk about them too much, but the Dark Order. I love this creepy gimmick. Like it's this bigger guy. It's like a, looks like the god of war kind of looking character with him. And, we see the lights go out. We see all the minions around the best friends, and then the lights go back out, come back on, and they're gone. So one thing with wrestling I've always liked is those kind of creepy, weird, over-the-top characters, and we're really getting that with the Dark Order. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that.
Oh, yeah, me too. I absolutely loved Papa Shango as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Even as an adult, I absolutely love Papa Shango, and I loved the Boogeyman. I love creepy characters as well. Kane, obviously, as well. The Chaos Order just gets me excited, or Dark Order, I'm sorry, gets me excited with the creepy gimmick. I agree with you there, definitely.
So, Party Johnnetty, what was some of your Marq moments?
Of course, the intro, the eating the apple, and then, kind of insinuating that he had to suck a dick.
It looked like he had trouble getting that down, like somebody kind of messed up his throat a little bit.
That was I had to laugh at that. I mean, it is what it is. But I loved also on Twitter, actually, that Marq Hoppus from Blink-182 actually tweeted at them and said, hey man, sorry we had to cancel on you and stuff. That was really funny. I really enjoyed that. And I know that was not on the show itself, but I was like, that's funny that they at least acknowledged it. MJF, of course, I mean, well, there's not much else to say. He just makes me, I live to see him do what he does. And the more and more I see him, the more and more I just love him. And he just cracks me up with how mean he is. That Jungle Boy, the moonsault, man, that thing had me going crazy. I just couldn't believe that. I've never seen anything like that before. And it really, I was really excited about it. Marked out in a scared, shitless way, the back bump by Darby. The Street Fighter stuff, that was absolutely awesome. And Kenny Omega and Mox at the end, I enjoyed that. I was hoping for that, and we got it.
All right, so this is another great segment. So this is where we get to talk about our BEP Elite 5. So this is our Elite 5 rankings where the PodRockers rank the wrestlers of AEW. So Party Johnnetty, let me hear your BEP Elite 5.
All right, after this bout, so This is the tough thing, right? Because I feel every time we do one of these, it feels like who are the top 5 from the show. And I'm not taking anything away from Adam Page. I still consider Adam Page to be very important in my top 5, but he didn't make my top 5 this time around. Number 5, Private Party. Really was happy with both of them, and I didn't know how I was going to do this. I didn't know if I should split the guys up or keep them as one as a group. This time around, I kept them as a group because I felt that they worked well with everything. Number 4, Jungle Boy. Just totally was impressed with everything that I saw. Number 3, Laredo Kid. I felt he was pretty much the shining star in that triple or the 3-man tag team, the 6-man overall. I really enjoyed what he had to do. And number 2, MJF. He just was on fire tonight with everything. And I give it up to him. And my number 1 spot, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega was the one that's, at least in kayfabe or whatnot, was putting Fyter Fest together. He had ESPN talking about the gaming world and the wrestling world combining with one another. I thought this was great. The fact that it went from just Kenny's love for video games into taking his love for wrestling and mashing them both together. And they created an awesome event that was hand in hand, and a bunch of video game or gamers got to see wrestling and get to enjoy it. And I love seeing the reaction in the crowd from some of these guys. And to me, it was all because of Kenny Omega. So he's my number 1 for this episode.
That's a good point to tie in, not just his actual in-ring stuff, but him getting this event started. But because, yeah, I mean, like, fighting games is very much in this, like, you think of some of the great games I played as a kid, they were wrestling games, one-on-one fighting games. So that's really cool to get into this market that is going to enjoy this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So my top 5, my BEP Elite 5, I had Private Party as number 5 as well. I feel like them getting exposure here was great. I feel like they're going to be – I'm hoping to see them go pretty far in the tag team tournament if they get to be in that. They've got like great momentum. They got great teamwork, so I'm really excited for that. My number 4, Darby Allin. So this was a guy that I mentioned last week that I really liked his character, his ring gear, like you said earlier, not great. Hopefully they can kind of touch that up. Maybe he spent all his money on the body bag because those are expensive, but he's already got it. Looks like it was chalk, so he can reuse it. My number 3 was Moxley. I thought he had a good match. I thought the end with him and Kenny Omega was really good. So, and again, he just kind of he had a couple pieces where he was getting things kicked off that I just really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. Joey Janela, that dive off the ladder, got me. Like, that's why I put him as number 2. Like, I think this is a guy who, like you said, he's crazy. There's a video of him the night before with Jungle Boy going out and he's shotgunning past Blue Ribbon. And I love that they mentioned that on the show. It's like, you know what Joey Johnnetty was doing to prep for this match? He was drinking at the bar. He was shotgunning beers or doing beer bongs. So I absolutely love that. And my number 1, I feel like, again, it's going to take a little bit for me to probably knock him off my list, but it's MJF. I feel like he just embodies that heel wrestler, you know, the two-face because he's Cody's friend, but he's definitely, you know, talks behind Cody's back. If you watch any of the Be the Elite or anything, like, it's just super hilarious. I absolutely love it. So that's why my number 1's MJF.
Nice.
All right, so we like to shine a light on those workers, who doesn't love a worker who's on the lower side of the card or an underdog. So that's why we like to shine a light on them in our Put 'em Over segment. So this is where we find somebody that kind of maybe doesn't have all the hype built around them, and we put them over. And for me, it's going to go back to Leva Bates, the librarian. You know, it's the pre-show, it's the buy-in, and I thought she did a great job on the mic. She carried the match well, and it's a pretty fun gimmick. So I'm hoping that they kind of shine, you know, let her shine a little bit coming up in this women's division, and hope to see some big things come from her.
Oh, for sure. That's a great one, Shawn. For me, it's let's keep going with the party, man. Private Party. That's I feel people just right now are probably looking up on YouTube and trying to find out more about them. Heck, I'm doing it myself. I didn't know too much about them going into this, and now I want to know more about them. And I feel like they just deserve that push for everything that they did and their match.
Yeah, I mean, the PodRockers and the Private Party both come from the same location. It's a location you need an invitation to get to. So
exactly.
All right, well, let's jump into our Under the Ring news. So some of the news that we have from Fyter Fest. So AEW released basically the condition of Cody Rhodes, and I found an article that was from ProWrestlingSheets.com that was talking about the nasty headshot that he took. And apparently there's no concussion, and it took 12 staples. So, again, I mean, football, you get a lot of the concussion protocol, and it's like, oh, there's no concussion. And unfortunately, I think the way football players do it is they try to cheat the test. Like, they try to get lower grades so that if they do have a concussion, they can still pass. Mm-hmm. I would assume wrestling would be a little bit different. But, again, at least from the information being passed around, 12 staples, no concussion.
Nice.
So let's break a little kayfabe with our news. And kind of going on with this Cody Rhodes or Cody situation, there is a lot. It's actually the number one thing on Twitter right now was the heat that AEW is getting with the unprotected chair shot from Cody. I know we talked a little bit about it, but I'm seeing it feels like it's like 70-30, where 70% is like, yeah, there's no reason for this, and 30% being like, oh my God, like nut up and let them do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And I know you talked already a little bit about it, so I don't know if we need to dive into it a ton, but I think I'm in the same boat. Like, what we know about head injuries and head trauma, there's no reason for that today. And it's not even the 12 staple part. Like, it's the fact that it was frontal hit, concussion potentially, but, you know, CTE isn't just one concussion or multiple concussions. It's continuously, you know, compact hits to the front of the head. That's why football players get a lot, because it's, you know, constant subconcussive hits. And these wrestlers, that's what they're going through all these times, these small subconcussive hits. So these big things add up quick. And, you know, again, I like to be entertained, and that's what actually kind of takes me out of football a little bit, is because you know what's going on with these guys. So I don't want wrestling to get in that same boat where you're like, oh, great, like I'm entertained for an hour, but that guy, when he's 50, is not going to know his name. Like that's just something I've got a little bit of a uneasiness to root for on that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there.
In our last article, so I feel like we need to basically create another section where where it's basically the AEW versus WWE. But I found this article which was kind of interesting, and apparently, and this is from the Sportster.com, WWE investors are becoming worried about AEW. So let me kind of paraphrase a little bit about this, but things have been going downhill plenty for WWE in 2019, and then there's the rise of the new AEW promotion has only complicated matters for Vince McMahon. Ratings have been on the decline in WWE so far this year, and the promotion is coming off a rough week in regards to attendance figures. There are many that are concerned as Fox prepares to take over the SmackDown broadcast in the fall. But WWE investors are now worried about the rise of AEW. And here's a little quote. This is from Dave Meltzer. And it's from his Wrestling Observer Radio. He says, the stock market is starting to figure out that things aren't good. I mean, in their minds, Vince is the guy. He knows everything about wrestling, and he knows what to do. And they got this great television deal, obviously. And when they go on Fox, it's going to be a boom period, and now there's concern. There's concern about AEW, but the big concern is the falling numbers from the last quarters started a concern. I mean, the stock price did drop. Now people are watching closer, and they're kind of seeing that it looks like it's falling even more, and you need new stuff to tell the stock people. That's why they're bringing in guys. So I think that's what's interesting with this, as well as there was a couple pictures floating around from AEW, like people at the AEW Fyter Fest event, showing the lack of attendance at the Fyter Fest event. But to me, I think that's like during the buy-in is what it looks like to me. I don't know if you've seen any of those pictures or not.
Yeah, no, those are always the situation, man. And I believe that's probably the case. Number one, you have people always trickling in when it's the pre-show. So don't ever take, don't ever give them what's a grain of salt. Yeah, with seeing these sort of things. Number two, let's also look at this. This was a video gaming event. This wasn't a wrestling event, really. This was just like coinciding with that. So if anything, it was trying to get video game fans to get into wrestling. So if there wasn't nearly as many people there as they thought there would be or whatnot, you got to think, oh, okay, well, that's probably the reason why. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about empty seats right now. It's way too early. You can't say, I mean, on the one hand, look, they sell out all in and all out and double or nothing in minutes.
Yeah.
And I mean, in this case, it was a free show to coincide with CEO. So I'm not going to take what anyone says about, oh my God, it's going downhill already.
Yeah, I think we got a solid year or two at least before we know if this thing's not going to work or not. And all signs are pointing in that it is.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into one of my other favorite segments. It's From the Stand. So we mentioned like this is where we can take letters and feedback from fans. And we got one today from Pake from Texas. So I'll read a little bit of his reviews from a couple of the matches. So, hey guys, it's Pake from Texas. Streamed Fyter Live and I absolutely loved it. I'll give a super quick review of some of the matches. So I think some of the ones I'd like to talk about. So we'll talk about kind of our 5 stars. So the MJF versus Jungle Boy versus Jimmy Havoc versus Adam Page match. He said, each had some good spots, although I feel Havoc was underused. Jungle Boy had my favorite moments. Shocking moves. MJF is the best, and you know it. The Darby Allin versus Cody. Honestly, the draw was a great outcome. Both wrestlers fought their hearts out, and I truly hope to see a rematch down the road. Hopefully that can happen before a full Shawn Spears story takes center stage. Then he has a message here on the Lucha Brothers and the Laredo Kid versus the Elite. So 2 words, Cero Miedo. Lucha Brothers are my favorite till the end, and the Young Bucks match up with them very well. Kenny is always a treat to watch. Love seeing Laredo Kid in the match. I like him a lot too. Plus the freaking triple Hadouken. Hadouken. Like you said, American trying to speak something that's not American. And then last we'll end up on Joey Janela versus Jon Moxley. So wasn't fully sold at first. Seemed to not as hardcore as I wanted. But by the end, they were really having fun. Even with the pain I know they were in. Those sadistic fuckers. And for it to set up a further feud between Mox and Kenny was worth it. And he says, thanks for the podcast. I've needed a good wrestling podcast, and this is the best way. Is with the best promotion from the beginning. So thanks, Peg. I love it.
Yeah, thank you for those kind words, Peg. We truly appreciate that.
Yeah, and if you guys want to give us any kind of feedback, even if it's you can even give us Fyter Fest or Double or Nothing feedback. We'd love to share it with everybody.
Oh yeah, definitely. Or maybe you have cheap heat against us. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Any segment you want to put your stuff in, let us know. So we also talked about how it'd be fun to push people to send in their promos, basically your gimmicks and things like that. And I was able to get that tape to work, Party Johnnetty, and I don't know. Let's listen to it. It's a little creepy. It's from a character, I guess, by the name of Wisecrack.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh, PodRockers. I see you guys like to party, but you forgot to bring the best party clown of all. My name is Wisecrack, and I am the one that likes to party. Oh, PodRockers, Party Johnnetty, and Shawn Michael. Oh, you better check under your bed. You better check your private plane, because Wisecrack is here, and Wisecrack doesn't clown around.
So, Party Johnnetty, I feel like we've got something thrown down here with Wisecrack.
You said this is the one that came with the balloon and the cassette tape, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's he recording on, right? Like, does he even know where our private yacht or our private jet is?
That was creepy as all get out.
I know we said we like creepy promos, but I mean, if they're sending it to my house with a balloon tied to it.
Creepy is fun when I'm not involved, right? Let's just put that out there.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait to see if I get like any balloon animals in my bathtub or something. And then we might, if it's a couple weeks, we might give a rebuttal to Wisecrack. But
the moment that we start talking about floating, it's over. Okay.
But if you have a promo you want to give us, maybe you want to rebuttal against Wisecrack or come against us, give us your promo. We'd love to play it live. So all you have to do, record your voice on your phone or anywhere and send it to us at podrockers@beelitepod.com. All right, well, we're ready for what's next, Party Johnnetty. So what do we have on tap?
All right, our next episode, we will be reviewing AEW's Fight for the Fallen, which takes place on Saturday, July 13th, 2019, from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, it's just right around the corner. So we might have we'll call like a house show or something to get us between then and there. We'll have to see how everything breaks down. Maybe we might have to beat the shit out of a clown. I don't know yet. We'll just have to wait and see. But for now, PodRocker Nation, you can reach out to BEP by following us on Twitter at BElitePod and Instagram at BElitePodcast. Email questions, comments, or those lovely, lovely promos to podrockers@beelitepod.com. You can like us on Facebook by searching for Be Elite Pod.
Well, we are desperately out of time for this week's Be Elite Pod. Until next week, I'm Party Johnnetty.
And I'm Shawn Michael saying so long from our BEP Home Elite Studios.
And remember, get off the street and be elite.